What if I told you that an AI model just scored 83% higher than human professionals on real-world work tasks? Not toy benchmarks. Not cherry-picked demos. Actual professional-grade coding, research, analysis, and problem-solving that companies pay six-figure salaries for. That model dropped this week, and it changes the calculus for every single person building with AI right now. OpenAI just launched GPT-5.4, and the numbers are staggering. But that's not even the only earthquake this week. Google quietly shipped an entirely new way to build software. Anthropic got banned by the Pentagon, the same Pentagon that reportedly already used its AI in military strikes. And Google DeepMind released an image generation model so fast and so good it might end the era of slow, expensive creative workflows forever. In the next 17 minutes, you'll discover exactly what GPT 5.4 can do that no model before it could, why Google's real play isn't Gemini 3 but something far more ambitious, and what it means when the world's most safety-focused AI company gets caught in the crosshairs of the US military. Let's get into it. Welcome back to World of AI, the channel where we break down the biggest stories in artificial intelligence so you can actually understand what matters and why it matters to you. This week was genuinely one of those weeks where you had to check the calendar to make sure it wasn't a major conference or launch event. Because everyone dropped something significant at the same time. OpenAI came out swinging with GPT 5.4 and positioned it as the most capable model ever built for professional work. Google launched not just Gemini 3 but an entire development platform called Anti-Gravity that might quietly be the bigger story. Anthropic, the company that literally built its brand on AI safety, got banned by the Pentagon under circumstances that are honestly bizarre. And Google DeepMind gave us Nano Banana 2, an image generation model that combines top-tier quality with speed that'll make your head spin. We're going to cover all four of these stories, and then we're going to zoom way in on GPT 5.4 because that model has implications that extend far beyond just being a better chatbot. We're talking about the future shape of knowledge work itself. So if you care about where AI is going and how it affects your career, your creative work, or your business, you're in the right place. Let's start with the headline everyone's talking about. GPT 5.4 just landed, and OpenAI is calling it their most capable and most efficient frontier model for professional work. Now, we've heard most capable before. Every few months someone says that. But this time, the receipts are genuinely impressive. Let's talk about what's actually new here. First, state-of-the-art coding. GPT 5.4 isn't just better at writing Python scripts. It's reportedly crushing complex software engineering tasks, multi-file refactors, debugging across large codebases, generating production-ready code that actually runs without hand-holding. For developers, this isn't incremental. This is the kind of jump that changes your daily workflow. Second, computer use. GPT 5.4 can now interact with your computer screen in meaningful ways. It can see what's on your display, click buttons, navigate interfaces, and execute multi-step tasks across applications. Think about what that means. You're not just asking an AI to write text anymore. You're asking it to do things on your behalf, across real software. Third, tool search. The model can now dynamically find and use tools it needs to complete a task. If it needs to search the web, it searches. If it needs to run code, it runs code. If it needs to pull from a document, it pulls. This is agentic behavior at a level we haven't seen from OpenAI's main consumer-facing product before. And fourth, and this one is massive, a 1 million token context window. That's roughly 750,000 words. You can feed this model an entire codebase, an entire legal contract library, an entire research corpus. And it can reason over the whole thing at once without losing the thread. Now here's the headline that really turned heads. Reports say GPT 5.4 clobbers humans on professional level work in tests by 83%. Let that sink in. On the specific benchmarks OpenAI used, which include tasks designed to mirror real professional work, the model outperformed human experts 83% of the time. There are two versions available right now. The standard GPT 5.4, which is fast and efficient, and a thinking version that takes more time to reason through complex problems step by step. Both are available in ChatGPT, with the Pro tier getting full access and the thinking variant. This is OpenAI very clearly saying, we're not just making a chatbot. We're making a coworker. And we'll go much deeper on what this means in our deep dive segment coming up. Now let's pivot to a story that might be flying under the radar but honestly deserves just as much attention. Everyone focused on Gemini 3 this week, and for good reason. It's Google's latest frontier model, and it's impressive. But I want to argue that the real story isn't Gemini 3 itself. The real story is anti-gravity. Anti-gravity is Google's new agentic AI development platform, and it's essentially a full integrated development environment and IDE powered entirely by Gemini 3. This isn't a plugin. This isn't a copilot sitting in the corner of your existing editor. This is Google saying, what if we rebuilt the entire software development experience from scratch with AI at the center? Here's why this matters. Right now, most AI coding tools work within existing environments. You open VS Code, you install an extension, and the AI assists you while you drive. Anti-gravity flips that model. The AI is the driver. You describe what you want to build, and the agent writes the code, sets up the infrastructure, tests it, debugs it, and iterates all within its own environment. Now, this has sparked a genuine debate in the developer community. On one side, you have people who are thrilled. They see anti-gravity as the logical next step. Why should developers spend 80% of their time on boilerplate when an agent can handle it? Let the AI build. You direct. On the other side, you have developers who are deeply skeptical. They argue that terminal-first control, where the human maintains fine-grained command over every line of code, is essential for building reliable, secure, maintainable software. Handing the keys to an agent, no matter how capable, introduces opacity and risk. This debate matters because it's not just about developer preference. It's about the future shape of software itself. If agent-first development wins, it means the barrier to building software drops to near zero. Anyone who can clearly describe what they want can ship a product. If terminal-first control remains dominant, it means AI stays a powerful tool but humans remain firmly in the loop for every critical decision. My read? Both will coexist, but anti-gravity signals where the momentum is heading. Google isn't building this for fun. They're building it because they believe the future of development is agentic. And if GPT-5.4's computer use capabilities are any indication, OpenAI agrees. Let's shift gears now to a story that's less about technology and more about power, trust, and the uncomfortable intersection of AI and war. Anthropic, the company founded by former OpenAI researchers, the company that has positioned itself as the most safety-conscious AI lab on the planet, just got banned by the Pentagon. And here's where it gets truly strange. Reports indicate that U.S. military strikes in the Middle East had already used Anthropic's AI technology. Let me make sure you understand the contradiction here. The U.S. military reportedly used Claude, Anthropic's AI, to assist with operational planning or analysis in active military operations. And then the Pentagon turned around and banned the company. If that sounds like it doesn't make sense, you're not alone. Experts across the AI policy world are sounding alarms. Now, the details of why Anthropic was banned are still emerging, but the implications are massive regardless of the specifics. First, this raises serious questions about governance. If the military is using AI tools in life and death scenarios, there needs to be a clear, consistent framework for which tools are approved, how they're audited, and who's responsible when something goes wrong. A ban after use suggests that framework either doesn't exist or broke down. Second, this puts Anthropic in an incredibly awkward position. The company has been vocal about responsible AI development. It created its constitutional AI framework specifically to align its models with ethical principles. Being simultaneously used by and banned by the military undermines the narrative from both directions. Hawks say Anthropic is unreliable. Doves say Anthropic compromised its principles by allowing military use in the first place. Third, and this is the one that keeps experts up at night, this sets a chilling precedent. If the most safety-focused lab in the industry can be both used and discarded by the government on what appears to be an ad hoc basis, what signal does that send to other labs? Why invest in safety infrastructure if it doesn't protect you from political whiplash? This story is developing, and I suspect we'll learn more in the coming weeks. But right now, the takeaway is clear: the relationship between AI companies and governments is messy, contradictory, and nowhere near mature enough for the stakes involved. Before we go deep on GPT 5.4, let me quickly tell you about one more story that's genuinely exciting. Google DeepMind dropped Nano Banana 2, their latest image generation model. And it's a big deal for a simple reason: it's both incredibly good and incredibly fast. We're talking advanced world knowledge, meaning the model understands how objects, lighting, physics, and context actually work. Subject consistency, meaning if you generate a character or product, it stays consistent across multiple generations. And production-ready specifications at what Google is calling flash speed. It's rolling out across Gemini, Imagen, and Google's creative tools. For creators, marketers, and designers, this is the kind of model that turns a 10-minute generation workflow into a 10-second one without sacrificing quality. And in an industry where speed and iteration matter enormously, that's a game changer. Now let's go deep on the story that ties everything together this week. Let's zoom in on GPT 5.4 and really unpack what this model represents, because I think the surface-level coverage misses the deeper signal. The 83% number. Let's start there. OpenAI tested GPT 5.4 against human professionals on tasks that mirror real knowledge work. Coding challenges, data analysis, research synthesis, strategic reasoning. And the model outperformed humans 83% of the time. Now, does that mean AI is replacing professionals tomorrow? No. Benchmarks are controlled environments. Real work is messy, political, ambiguous, and requires judgment calls that benchmarks don't capture. But here's what it does mean. The floor of what AI can do competently has risen dramatically. A year ago, AI could help you draft an email or summarize a document. Today, GPT 5.4 can review an entire codebase, identify architectural problems, suggest refactors, implement them, test them, and explain what it did, all within a single session because of that million-token context window. This matters for three specific groups of people. If you're a developer, GPT 5.4 combined with the thinking variant is essentially a senior engineer on demand. Not a junior assistant. A senior engineer who can hold your entire project in its head and reason about trade-offs across the whole system. The implications for solo developers and small teams are enormous. You can now punch way above your weight. If you're a business leader, this model changes your hiring calculus. Not because you'll fire people, at least not immediately, but because the tasks you hire for are shifting. You don't need someone to write boilerplate reports or do routine analysis. You need someone who can direct AI to do those things, verify the output, and make judgment calls on ambiguous results. The premium shifts from execution to orchestration. If you're a student or early career professional, pay very close attention. The skills that got people hired 5 years ago are not the skills that will get you hired 5 years from now. Learning to code is still valuable, but learning to code with and through AI agents is becoming essential. Learning to write is still valuable, but learning to write prompts that extract maximum value from a million-token reasoning engine is becoming a superpower. Now, let me make a couple of predictions. First, I think the gap between GPT 5.4 and whatever Anthropic and Google ship next is going to be measured in weeks, not months. We're in an acceleration phase where every major lab is leapfrogging the others at breakneck speed. The benchmarks that look untouchable today will look quaint by autumn. Second, I think the combination of GPT 5.4's capabilities with computer use and tool integration means we're about to see an explosion of AI agent startups. Not chatbots. Not wrappers. Actual agents that log into your tools, do your work, and report back. The infrastructure is finally good enough to make this viable at scale. And third, and this is the big one, I think the professional benchmarks are going to become the new frontier of AI evaluation. We've been obsessed with MMLU scores in coding competitions, but what companies actually care about is, can this model do the job? GPT 5.4 is the first model to make that question genuinely uncomfortable for a lot of industries. 83% isn't a curiosity. It's a warning shot. The question isn't whether AI will transform professional work. That's already happening. The question is how fast, and whether we'll build the governance, education, and economic structures to handle it. Because as the Anthropic Pentagon story shows us, we are nowhere near ready for the policy side of this revolution. Alright, let's land this plane. Here are your 3 key takeaways from this week. Number 1. GPT 5.4 is not just another model upgrade. With 83% professional task performance, a million-token context window, computer use, and agentic tool integration, this is the model that makes AI a legitimate coworker, not just an assistant. Whether you're a developer, a business leader, or a student, you need to get your hands on this and understand what it can do. Number 2. Google's anti-gravity IDE is the signal you should be watching. Gemini 3 is impressive, but anti-gravity represents a philosophical shift in how software gets built. Agent-first development is coming, and it's going to lower the barrier to creation in ways we can barely imagine. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people who care about understanding AI, not just being hype-fed about it. Drop a comment telling me which story hit you hardest this week. I read every single one. And next week, we're going deep on the emerging war between AI agent platforms. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and a dozen startups are all racing to build the agent that lives on your computer and does your work. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. Subscribe to World of AI so you never miss the latest AI news. I'll see you in the next one.